Good morning. My name is Barba, and today I will be presenting on influenza. So today I will be talking about the background, the type, the history, the causes, the symptoms, the treatments, the prevention, the transmission, the demographics, and as well as my experiment and conclusion. So influenza is a viral infection that affects the respiratory system, and it is commonly known as the flu. It is an international disease that has affected most of the world. It is very contagious, and because of that, it spreads extremely quickly. The types of influenza are influenza A, influenza B, and influenza C. Influenza A and B are very similar to each other because of their symptoms, and they both cause pandemics and epidemics. Influenza C is very similar to the common cold, and it has very mild symptoms. Influenza A has two major subtypes, H1N1 and H3N2. It is found in farm animals, and it is also found in most mammals. Influenza B has no subtypes. It is found in humans, and influenza C is very mild and mostly occurs in children under the age of 6. History. Influenza has been around for over 2,000 years. Hippocrates was the first to describe influenza in 430 BC. Herodotus was first to record the symptoms about 2,000 years ago. In 1931, scientists discovered that influenza can be grown in eggs, and the first egg-based solution was made 4 years after in 1935. In 1946, scientists discovered that the influenza strains change every year. And general causes are influenza virus, and it can also depend on the type of influenza. Influenza A is caused by two viral proteins, hemagglutinin and neuraminidase. Influenza B is found in heritage and is passed down from your parents or from your family, and influenza A and B are both caused by contact with other people that are infected. Influenza C is caused by infectious agents such as saliva or sneezing or anything of that. Symptoms. Symptoms of influenza include fever, headache, fatigue, which is tiredness, cough, sore throat, runny or stuffy nose, body aches, or diarrhea and vomiting, which only occurs in elders over the age of 65, but it is very rare. Symptoms start showing 1 to 4 days after incubation. It can also give the infected one of the following complications: pneumonia, dehydration, bronchitis, and worsening of chronic medical conditions like heart attacks or asthma. Prevention. Influenza can be prevented by washing your hands often, taking vaccines during flu season, not touching any openings after touching anything infected, getting plenty of sleep, drinking lots of fluids, starting good habits, staying at home if you're infected, taking antiviral medications, and physicians recommend that children over the age of 9 take vaccines yearly. Treatments. Some influenza treatments are getting plenty of sleep and drinking lots of fluids, as I said before, and avoiding alcohol use, taking medications for symptoms such as aspirin, vaccine, and they can either be injected or inhaled so that you can get variety with the vaccines. And some of the vaccinations available are Influvair Fluzone, also known as Vaxigripp, or Flucelvax. Influenza is a vaccine that can treat symptoms of both influenza A and influenza B in under 48 hours. Fluzone is the most popular vaccine for influenza, and it has sold over 1.33 billion. And Flucelvax is a vaccine that has transmission. Influenza can be transmitted through close contact with other people, touching an object that is infected, or touching an opening in your body after touching something infected. It can also be spread by coughing or sneezing, and it can be spread from up to 6 feet away. Demographics. Influenza has hospitalized 180,000 people, and people at highest risk of catching the disease are elders over the age of 65, or children 6 to 23 months old, and pregnant women. About 5 to 20% of the U.S. population is infected yearly. Now my experiment. So the title of the experiment was Comparison of the Clinical Effectiveness of Zanamivir and Lenacapavir Octane for Children with Influenza A, H3N2, and B in the 2011-2012 season. The objective was to evaluate the clinical effectiveness of NAI and Zanamivir and Lenacapavir Octane for Influenza A, H3N2, and B viruses. The methods the researchers used were 350 patients which were treated with ZN vaccine Zanamivir, and 338 patients treated with the LO Lenacapavir Octane, and then they were observed and compared. The results were that there was no clinical difference between the two vaccines, but biphasic fever was more common in the Lenacapavir Octane group. My conclusion is influenza is very dangerous. It has many symptoms, and it can be cured or reduced by vaccines, and it transmits easily. It has affected millions around the world. It has had many pandemics, and hopefully researchers can find a way to eradicate the disease. This is my work cited.
Chad's hand is for Jesus. All right, if you have a question for him, raise your hand.
Do you know whether the flu is gram positive or negative?
I will have to do further research to answer that question. Corey?
You mentioned that some prevention of disease are starting good habits. Good habits such as what?
Good habits such as exercising or eating healthy. Tunisi?
Is there really a high mortality rate for influenza?
Well, there's 800 deaths for every 100,000 people.
And another question is, why is influenza more common during, commonly known as flu season?
Flu season is usually late December to early March, and then people go outside more because it's springtime, so they might, and they can transmit through the air and they can catch it like that. Lexi?
You listed some of your symptoms. Which one is the most severe to you?
Diarrhea or vomiting.
One more question?
Maya?
So you think that there is a death rate that people do die, so is it typically children or older women that die?
I believe it is children, but to answer your question, I would have to do further research.
All right, jazz hands.